Yeah. Some backpack raps. Turn it up. Hey yo, life's a bitch and then you die, yeah we knew that, but screw that. I'll toast to the future, not where the crew at. It's FTB until I'm 6 feet deep. Yeah, we done started a movement, a leader, never been a sheep. So I don't follow the crowd, I'm trying to make my own lane. Lost a lot in this life, but I still got more to gain. Never take for granted the fans who've been waiting for the day I blow like Nagasaki on everyone, ignoring the name. Verses pour from my mind like that Kentucky bourbon. But I was born in the shy, my mentality's urban. Never was sure about my purpose, but I know one thing's for certain. I came here to fuck up the game till I'm wanted for murder. Gotta be honest though, I know I got talent and I'm driven to make my vision come to fruition. No indecision, achieved a lot in life that some said I wouldn't. So what's the difference when it comes to this rap shit they saying I couldn't? Bound to fail, I ask them why. Cause I'm white in my 30s, I got a family and work a normal fucking job. You must be kidding, man, that fuels the fire. And I'm prepared as I get bigger for haters to put me through the wire. But I won't let it bring me down, I got that tunnel vision. Like a horse in a derby, I'm just focused on winning. Passing up my peers, no wonder why I'm always grinning. But when it comes to my enemies, my trigger finger itching. Don't like the negativity, I'm only moving up. So if you ain't with me on the grind, then how can you say I don't do enough? Soon enough, they all go see I proved enough and rock with it. All from the bottom, there ain't no stopping it. Music's my passion and I made a promise to always crush whatever the fuck was in front of me. So let's be honest, do I? Hell yeah, they know the flow dumb. And one thing's for certain, if you don't chase your dream, it won't come. But you can't ever chase your dream if you don't run. So I'm gunning for the tip top, homie, and then some. Make it a habit of smashing raps in my backpack like snack packs. I got my cat backwards, listening to Mac Miller. Got some Nikes on my feet, running them laps around my peers, but they too proud and cocky to admit defeat. But I ain't taking prisoners, they on my plate. It's time to eat, it's time to show them what I'm about. Cause then they'll want a fucking feature, what a piece. That's cool though, I really can't blame them. They'd rather do a track with your boy, cause they won't be getting nowhere if they hate them. But in the end, I love this hip hop shit. So I'm gone, got a plane to catch. Kick rocks, bitch.
Welcome to Homefront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today, because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find Homefront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out Homefront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting. Welcome, everybody, to a Monday edition of Homefront Sitrep. How is everybody doing? Mr. Samuel Deeds, how are you in Hawaii?
Jealous.
I know, I'm jealous too. Miss Candace, how are you?
I'm good, I think. I'm good. It was a very spontaneous weekend, but life is good, I think. Yeah.
You think?
I spent some time with my baby this weekend, so I got to see her, and we got a little.
And you got to see your daddy as well.
My daddy. No, it was all like unplanned. Everything that happened was unplanned, but it was great. And sorry I missed yesterday. I'm super excited for tonight, though.
How is Mr. Marcus?
Stubborn and trying to get better, but like he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, kinda. But I know where I got it from.
Yeah, Sam, I'm jealous because that's on my bucket list is to go to Pearl Harbor to see the Arizona and everything else that's in Pearl Harbor. That's definitely on my bucket list to
He-
go.
he- He's in Hawaii right now.
I
You
know,
know, right now they're paying nurses $10,000 a week to come to Hawaii.
just $10,000 a week to go to Hawaii.
Well, to work because their nurses are on strike.
Ah, so they're scab nurses. Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, they're putting them in like blacked out buses and stuff so people can't see them going. That's horrible, though. You have to have nurses.
I know you need to have nurses, but they also need to pay them too.
I
That's
know.
why
If
they're
they're
on
paying somebody
strike.
$10,000 a week, why are they not paying their other nurses?
Right,
But
right.
I don't know. It might not be money though that they're on strike for.
So Sam, while you're in Hawaii, don't get hurt.
No, because I ain't no nurses that want to work on you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess he can go to the naval base there since he's 100% disabled, retired. So, yeah, Sam, I bet you it is very moving to go there and see the Arizona and all the other places around Pearl Harbor that you can go and visit as a veteran. Uh, Speaking of veterans, we got a Navy veteran coming on to today. He hit 20 plus years in the naval side of things. So I'm green side Navy. Well, I was Marines, but still green side. I guess he would be the dark side, the white side of the Navy.
Where did that was an oxymoron, the dark side and the white side.
Well, so we as enlisted, we always call the officers the dark side.
Uh,
So as enlisted, we're the good guys, and officers are always the bad guys, the dark side. So Darth Vader style over there. Uh, so, but no, we got Mr. Jay Wylie, who was a commander in the Navy. He was on. Let's see. I remember seeing what ship he was on here. I don't want to call it a boat. I'm gonna call it a ship. Um, so he was on, let's see. I think he was on a couple different boats. Anyway, we'll let him say
let
that.
him tell it, and then he'll tell us the right way.
Yeah, definitely. So now Mr. Jay Wylie is running. So he's part of Confidential Recovery LLC. And then they also have a nonprofit, which is the VNC, the Veterans Navigation Center, that Mr. Jay Wylie is helping head up. And it all revolves around addiction, whether it be alcohol addiction, drug addiction, whatever kind of addiction that veterans may have, and first responders too, if I remember correctly. So the backstory of Mr. Jay Wylie is when he was in the military, he had an addiction, a disease, alcoholism, and it. Well, we'll let him get into that. I'm a little teaser there.
It's a moving. It's very moving. Where he found himself in a very very dark place and went through some very very hard times, and he came back on top.
Yeah, yeah, he's sober for 9 plus years now. From what I can see from the website, it might be more than that now, but nine
And
plus years sober.
yeah, and a heads up for those watching, like there might be some there might be some emotional things, there might be some triggering things in this episode and some very controversial things. I'll say we're coming from two different sides.
Yes,
And
it's gonna be one of
not
those.
in opinion, but as far as line of events. And it's okay. Like it's gonna be a great podcast, and everything that's came out of it I think is beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I mean, we're gonna hit on some hot topics that some viewers uh, might trigger. So just just be ready, because I mean there are some triggering things that might be said. But we'll get into that, and
But we're also
hopefully,
going to ask everybody to stay respectful. We love our
yes.
viewers. We love the people that come on and support us. And I'm going to tell you when we start talking about this, like I am the other side of it. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I'm very happy to have this guest on here. And we're excited to share the other things that we're doing. and it's all gonna be good.
Yeah,
mean,
I want to
like
give a shout out to MJ Gonzalez. I watched her and Ozzy on their podcast last night for a little while. Great job on what you guys did last night, MJ. So, without further ado, let's bring Mr. Jay Wylie up onto the stage. I'm gonna put him up here. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're
Quite an
glad.
introduction.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have you. I want to give a shout out to Miss Lauren Glasscock, who got us connected. I want to give her a big shout out. I think your story is one of those stories that they could probably make a movie out of. So I think your story needs to be told.
for sure.
Because you have went through a lot of things that in the military sometimes get swept underneath the rug. And from dealing with the alcoholism that caused you to lose your career pretty much. And then the other determining factors in that, and then where you are now in life, where you're leading an addiction recovery center, and you're doing amazing things to help veterans. It's in the San Diego area, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Yes.
So
we're in San Diego.
That's super cool.
No background on you, Jay. Like, introduce yourself to us.
Sure. So, I'm Jay, and ever since I was about 7 years old, I decided that I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. And at the time, I was growing up in a kind of rural suburban Illinois. I was actually born in the Los Angeles area, but when I was 5, we moved to this little town in Illinois. There's a cornfield at the end of my street. Very peaceful. My parents didn't drink. They were religious, and I had a really nice childhood. I know not everybody does, but I did. But I was kind of bored, to be honest with you. And I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. I wanted to be like the heroes that I saw on TV and the movies, guys like John Wayne and James Bond and Pappy Boyington, who was really popular at the time. And I decided I wanted to be a military officer. So from about age 7 on, I did everything I possibly could to achieve that goal. And so I didn't drink in junior high and high school, didn't do anything to get myself in trouble. And I ended up getting an ROTC scholarship, went off to college. But when I got to college, it was like, bam, I've arrived. And now I'm going to do what I saw my heroes do, and what I see all the other guys doing, I'm going to drink. And that's when I took my first drink. And if I'm being honest, the reason I took my first drink, because there was a senior girl I had a crush on, and she thought it would be funny to get the freshmen drunk. So I drank anything that she put in my hand. Turns out I didn't impress her very much. I think I ended up throwing up over her balcony into the balcony of the apartment below. So that didn't work out so well. But I didn't care, because I'd found this magic potion that made everything all better.
It was Popeye.
So, yeah. I think the first drink she made me was called a grasshopper. I don't think I've ever had one since, but I didn't care. And I learned how to drink as hard and as fast as you can, because in college you're underage, you don't know when you're going to get your next drink. And then when I hit the fleet, the same thing happened, because you're port visit to port visit. You never know where you get your next drink. Except this time I lost my amateur standing. I had a paycheck, so I could buy more. But something happened. And what happened was, I found out that this Navy thing was for real, and that people could get hurt, and people were counting on me. As a young officer, I had guys that I was responsible for. That was the first time I'd ever experienced that, and I fell in love with those guys. And I would have killed or died for them. And the worst thing I could have ever done was let them down or fail at the mission. And I didn't realize this about myself at the time, but I've come to realize I have my two most major character defects are fear and perfectionism. So I was terrified of letting the guys down or failing at the mission, but I was setting standards for myself that were so high, there's no way I could have achieved them. So my life became this self-fulfilling prophecy of fearing failure at the next mission, inspection, evolution, whatever it is, then doing it and doing pretty good at it, and then just noticing all the things that went wrong. If I got an 85, I'm looking at the 15% I didn't get, and I felt like a failure. And the only way I knew how to turn off that feeling was to drink. But the thing was, I actually was really good at my job, so I kept getting promoted, and I just got more responsibility and more responsibility and more responsibility. So I had to drink more and more and more to make those feelings go away. And, you know, it was fun at first, but pretty soon bad stuff started happening. And, you know, I started hearing I had these near misses, you know, where I almost got into trouble, you know, almost getting into a fight or almost getting caught doing this or that. You know, the guys would get me back to the ship and say, hey, pretty fun night, sir. Ha ha ha. Yeah, we got you back to the ship, okay? Ha ha ha. And I had no idea what they were talking about because I had completely blacked out, and I became terrified. So I said, okay, I need to make some serious changes. And so what I did was I started drinking alone. So when I was in port visits, I would lock myself in the hotel room with as many bottles as I could carry. It was like the Wolfman before a full moon. Locked up. I'm not going to get any trouble. Can't get any trouble here because I'm by myself and I'm locked up. And that worked for a little while. And then I ended up, like I said, I was doing really good, and I ended up getting command. So here I am in command of a guided missile destroyer. We go on a 7-month deployment. I mean, the best ship, the best crew you could ever hope for. Fought pirates. We rescued 55 mariners at sea. You know, fought terrorists. Did every mission, and everybody came home. Everybody came home with 10 fingers and 10 toes, the same number that they went on deployment with. I was really, really proud of that. But the thing was, I couldn't hide anymore. So now I'm on a microscope slide. And when my crew found out that I like to drink, I never had an empty hand.
Right.
And I started putting myself in situations on liberty, not tactically, not operationally, but on liberty that I should never have allowed to happen. And then the wheels came off the bus. You know, I got involved in some really unfortunate incidents and got in all kinds of trouble. So I ended up getting relieved of command, court-martialed, sent to the brig, and then kicked out of the Navy. My good service ended at 19 years, 5 months, and 20 days. And so, you know, so now here I am. I got, you know, I've lost my freedom, my career, my retirement. I'm about to lose my house, about to lose my family. What do I do? And so I asked for help. And so I went to the Navy's 28-day outpatient treatment program called SARP, Substance Abuse Rehabilitation Program. They introduced me to the 12-step community, and I've been sober ever since. And so actually, I'm very happy to report it's a little over 13 years now. And so I've been sober. And what I've done is I've dedicated my life to trying to help others to achieve sobriety and to learn from my mistakes. Hopefully they don't have to commit the same mistakes. But if they have made some mistakes, to learn that you can overcome those. No matter what it is, you can come back from it. And in fact, that's one of the great things about the programs I'm working with is we don't give a crap what your discharge is, you know, because we figure if you served, you served. And, you know, you probably didn't make those mistakes. You didn't wake up one day and just do that. You know, we in the military have been self-medicating for so many years to overcome the trauma that we've endured or the sacrifices that we've made. And, you know, that self-medication has consequences for a lot of us. And that's the part where, you know, we're trying to, you know, sometimes the three hardest words in the English language are "I need help," and that's what I'm trying to help people to do. To say "I need help" and then say, "I got you, shipmate. Let's come alongside. Let's see what we can do for you." So I think that's my story in a nutshell.
That definitely is your story in a nutshell. From now, if people who Google you, they're going to see some stories out there. That some are probably embellished because they don't really, the people who wrote the articles don't really know what happened. And you know, you kind of summed it up, because when I was in the Marine Corps, as I was gaining rank, I felt the same way. Like, I always drank. Like, that was something I always did, but I always did it, you know, with close friends and stuff like that. But after I caught my first wife cheating on me, I went down a rabbit hole, and I started drinking really heavy, and I was drinking bourbon. Like, I mean, I literally would drink a fifth of bourbon a night. Like, I'd get off work, go home, start drinking, wake up the next morning and still be drunk and head on to base. And it finally got to the point where it was affecting my job. And
Hi, Ratman.
what's up, Ratman? And when it was affecting my job, I was like, I need help. You know, so I went to my staff sergeant and said, hey, this is what's going on. I need help. And then, you know, luckily I had a good chain of command. Not everybody has a good chain of command where the chain of command takes care of you. Luckily I had a chain of command that said, all right, let's send you to detox. They sent me to 60 days detox. And then when I came back from there, I had to do 1 year at the AA program, you know, doing the AA program. And I didn't lose rank. I didn't lose money because I asked for help before it got to that point. So I can see where, you know, as you're gaining, you know, more responsibility, and, you know, as you're climbing the rank, especially in the officer side of things, because you guys, once you get past, see, because commander is what, an 04 or 05? 05. So once you get 03 and above as an officer, you have a shit ton of responsibilities. Well, just like in the Marine Corps, once you hit E4, E5, that's when your responsibilities, you start picking up big time. Because, you know, E1 to E3, you don't really have a whole lot of responsibilities. But when people Google you, they're going to see some stuff, and this is kind of what Candace was talking about earlier. And I know we're not really going to tiptoe, but we're not really going to deep dive into it.
No, and that's not why we're here tonight either.
Right.
It is also, when we talk about this, it's also showing somebody overcoming some really dark places. And I don't think with this particular topic, we never get to hear this perspective.
No.
It's never something that seems to be able to be talked about. And it's hard. And like I said, I'm going to tell you from the other side, it is hard to think about listening to it and that there's good that comes out of it. I am probably a different type of that side because it's happened too many times. And to a point where at a certain point, I thought it was my fault until I realized that no, it's not. And when we get to talking about this subject, I also want to clarify, and this is not, it doesn't make anybody the bad guy, but because of a disease or an addiction, that does not make an excuse for things that happen. It's the consequences and the things that you do going forward that cause you to be able to mend some of those. And whether it is able to affect those specific people or not, you're still putting yourself in a position of vulnerability and you're helping others. And I think that's very important for people to remember with this conversation.
Yes, for sure.
Sure.
So, because, so without the tiptoeing, we are talking about sexual assault.
Right.
Where we're, like I said, we are looking at two different perspectives here, where I was a victim and you were not. So that is somewhere that you got into your drinking and your addiction.
Right.
That some things happened, and unfortunately for yourself, you were blacked out and don't remember everything, and I'm sure that's hard, and that doesn't help with the guilt of what happened, especially when you have to take somebody else's word for it in something that happened. But you do know that, that the probability of that is absolutely. And unfortunately, because of your rank, things were embellished. And again, that doesn't excuse what happened. But there is a point that I'm going to say, as the victim of that, it's okay to defend yourself on things that you absolutely know that's not a possibility, that didn't happen. And I think it's unfortunate that there's going to be people that don't care. They don't care that you're sorry. They don't care that you're doing great things now. They're never going to accept that. And I hope for your sake that you're able, and it seems that you are able to bring yourself to go, you know what, it's okay, but you got to keep moving for those ones that you can help.
That's really the key, and you know, because it is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, so when I said earlier, the thing that I was afraid of more than anything in the world was letting down my troops. To look in the mirror and say, you did this to your troop, I am probably very lucky that I didn't take my own life, because the guilt is just, it's, you know, at times it was unbearable. And really the only reason I didn't was because of my wife and my kids. And the fact that I said, I don't want this to be how my story ends.
Right.
You know, I want a chance to make this right. And I agree with you. It's not an excuse. And the example that I use a lot is, it's kind of like someone who has a DUI and kills somebody. You're still responsible for everything that you did, but there's an explanation. Oh, well, because of the disease, they put themselves in this situation, and then that's why maybe these really bad decisions were made. When you remove the alcohol, you don't make those bad decisions anymore, but you still are responsible for everything you did. And I think that's been my story, is now that I've removed that alcohol from my life, I don't do that stuff anymore, because I'm able to make, you know, clear decisions. But to be able to look at myself and say, you did that, you have to own that. It's very difficult. And you're right. There are people who are never going to accept it, and I have to accept that and accept them. But I think if I were to try and run away from it, or I was to try to hide, or I was to try to lie about it, none of those options work. So, I mean, really, this is the only path I have. This is the only path that makes any sense. But the thing is, if I can walk this path, then maybe that becomes a trail for the people who are following behind me, who have had similar circumstances, because there's got to be an on-ramp back on into the mainstream of life. There has to be, or else you're creating this whole subculture of people who have no hope and no future, and that's a recipe for disaster. So I think that you know, I feel like I owe it to them, and anybody I hurt along the way, to straighten up and fly right, to do the right thing, and to own it, and to be open about it, and just, you know, move forward as best I can.
Well, I think that's a really important part of why, you know, we're able to have this conversation with you. And I hate to stereotype, but people that have been in your situation, or that person, are not, I like I said, I hate to stereotype, but the majority of them are never going to own that. They're never going to think that they did something wrong. And like I said, there's going to be some vulnerable points in here, and I'm going to share that this was very recent for me, and it was a military person who was spiraling and drinking, and it was unfortunately a very violent situation. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to block some of these things out, because it was February of this year. And the only thing I could do was pack and leave. That person I know will never see something that they did wrong. And I'll never have that. I don't think closure, because I don't think there's a closure in that. That's a very demeaning, and it's a horrific thing to go through, whether it is violent or whether it is I'm going to say a better situation that is more matching to yours, where there wasn't like when we talk about sexual abuse, we're not talking about he did not have sexual intercourse with anybody. There was inappropriate touching with people that were under your command. And that's as far as that went. Luckily, I don't think that you would have that extra guilt, and not saying that it's easier, because it wasn't that. No. Because like I said, I've had different situations that were very different on the scale, but it doesn't change it for that victim. And no. It's unfortunate that the people that you were in contact with then may not ever feel okay. But as a victim myself, I appreciate you. I can find myself to forgive you for what you did, looking at what you're doing now and providing for those veterans or first responders. And you may be dealing with people that went through the same thing as you did. You may be dealing with people that have done worse or people that have done less, but you're also giving an opportunity for these humans to not have to experience what you did. And then on the outside of that, you're letting people like me not have to experience things like that, because you're providing this help for these people. And we're also not losing these lives. Like you said, it would have been, like, here, let's end it. But then, look at what you're doing now. And that's almost the coward's way out of going, I'm not going to deal with my consequences.
I think it is. I think it would be the cowardly way, the easy way. I think this way is harder because you do have to accept, people being very critical and judging, perhaps rightfully so in some cases, but projecting their particular experience and my particular experience, because you're right. There are a lot of people who are not going to accept that what they're doing is wrong and are not going to try to make amends. And that's, unfortunately, I don't have any control over that. I only have control over me and my little hula hoop, right? But, I remember the story in the 12 steps, the fourth and fifth steps are where you make a moral inventory, and the fifth is where you share that with another human being. And I heard this story of a man, and this guy was, he grew up and his entire family were firefighters. And that was what he wanted to do. And then one day he was out in a forest, and he came upon a trailer, and he started playing with some matches, and he ended up lighting it on fire as a teenager and starting a forest fire. And he ran away, and he never got caught. Some of his relatives actually had to fight that fire, and thank goodness no one got killed. But he was so ashamed that he was going to take that secret to his grave. He was never, ever going to tell anybody that secret. And then when he got sober and he came to doing his fourth and fifth step, he was telling his sponsor this story. And he was shaking with emotion, so powerful. And his sponsor says, that's just something you did. That's not who you are. Let's find out who you are. And I think that's the thing, is that a lot of times we try and define who we are by things that maybe we did. And that's not necessarily who we are, or it's not necessarily who we have to be. Right. We have the choice to change our trajectory, to change our glide slope, our future. Can't change the past, but we can definitely change the direction that we're
sure.
That's I think that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and allow those traumas or experiences to give us a chance to be a better person or be the person that we want to be. And I think that also goes on to the other side of it, is not allowing something that happened to you to define you as well. So that was most recent. Of course, I had my daughter when I was 14 because it happened when I was 13. And, it gives you a different life trajectory, but you make a choice. And it's either I can sit and woe is me and, be in misery for the rest of my life, or I can watch this beautiful little girl grow up who is my Achilles heel, and she's 25 years old now, and she wasn't a puppy. You don't give her up. And it's just, it made life different than what it probably would have been. And, even up to most recent, you almost, if you have it in you to allow yourself to make that yourself stronger,
Right.
and then make that next choice. And so I appreciate the fact that you're not one of those 22. I love the fact that you were courageous enough to take the next steps to go, you know what, I'm going to make a difference. And I think that's where we should go now, because I think that you're doing wonderful things, and we want to hear more about it and what you're doing as far as confidential recovery and, veterans navigation center. Like, tell us, we want to know more.
Sure. So it's a funny story. Our founder's a guy named Scott Silverman, and just to be completely transparent, he's not a veteran, but he's been in recovery almost 40 years. And in the 80s, he opened a place in San Diego called Second Chance, and it helps people who've been homeless or incarcerated get back into the mainstream of life. And he did that for about 20 years or so. And then what he saw was the people who were helping him to try and help others needed help themselves. So in other words, doctors, lawyers, first responders, probation officers, social workers, they're all suffering in silence from substance use disorder. And he said, if I ever leave here, I want to help them, because they're afraid to ask for help because they think they're going to lose their license or promotion or career. And so he founded Confidential Recovery, founded it in 2014, and it worked okay, but he just felt like there were a lot of people who weren't taking advantage of it. And he said, how can I broaden my appeal? And then someone said to him, hey, Scott, you know that in San Diego, over 30% of first responders are veterans, right? It was like, bing, light bulb. Oh, if I get in network with the VA, then veterans can come here and use their VA benefits, and their employers will still be none the wiser because they won't be on their company's insurance. This is great. So, excuse me, I met Scott in recovery, and he knew my story, and he says, Jay, you speak veteran. Can you help me get in contact with the VA? So I came on board in 2019, and we met with the VA and their alcohol drug treatment program. And, I got to be honest, they were pretty suspicious at first. Who are these guys? And we showed them our state license, and we showed them our accreditation, from the Joint Commission and all this other stuff. And they said, okay, we're going to do a site visit. And this was during the pandemic time. So they're walking around, and they got their masks on. We're all masked up, and they got their phones. They got people on Zoom back in the office. They're looking around. And at the end of the tour, and a bunch of questions, the division chief for the VA's alcohol drug and treatment program turns to me and says, Jay, I have a wait list of 13 veterans. How fast can you take them? And I checked my watch, and I said, well, we have a group at 6. And we tripled in size almost overnight.
Wow.
And so these vets came in, and we had to hire a bunch more counselors, and we tried to hire counselors who were also veterans. So I'd say about 50% of our staff are veterans too. And then we also, most of us are in recovery ourselves. So it's a lot of peer support and lived experience in addition. And a lot of us have bad discharges. Like I said, we kind of like people with bad discharges. And, we know they've earned them. And so we've been helping these people get sober. And it's a small but growing community of veterans in recovery. And then what happened was that at the end of their referral from the VA, a lot of these guys were saying, Jay, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. So I went back to the VA, and I tried and beg for more time. Let them stay, let them stay. And they're like, Jay, they can't stay there forever. We know they love your program. They tell us that, but they can't stay there forever. And so we thought about it, and we said, why not? So we created an alumni group. And so now we have veterans who come back, and we meet every week and just check in and make sure everyone's doing okay. Those veterans can come to any of our groups if they're having a bad day. And then once a month, we have a barbecue where we introduce our alumni to our current veterans and try and get them to share their hope-stricken experience with each other. And, we've had over 3 or 4 of our veterans have celebrated over 3 years of sobriety with us. And we just had one of them took 3 years last week, which was really exciting. And they become an example to the next generation that's coming in behind them. And so the thing is that a lot of our veterans, when they came in, they didn't just have a substance use disorder. They had other problems too, life problems, right? My joke is that getting sober, it's kind of like driving a station wagon down the freeway, and you got all your stuff in the back, and you get about 30 days of sober, it's like slamming on the brakes, and all that other stuff comes flying forward. Marital issues, legal issues, benefits, housing, employment, all that stuff. We've been trying to help them in a very ad hoc way, and we thought, how can we do that better? And so we created the Veterans Navigation Center to try and help veterans with all these other issues. And so what we're doing is taking some of these alumni veterans who completed our program and have demonstrated some sobriety, we're getting them trained to be a peer support specialist so that a veteran from the community can call in and talk to one of these guys and ideally come in person and sit down together and then talk about whatever their issue is. And then while they're talking about it, to do a holistic assessment and find out what else is going on once they've established a little bond of trust. It's kind of like, so you want help upgrading your discharge. Would you mind telling me why you got a bad discharge? And if they say, well, I really like meth. Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can help you with that too. And then, we kind of push them over to confidential recovery or whatever their other issues are. And now that we've established this relationship between the peer support specialist, we call them a veteran peer navigator. The veteran navigator is now connected with this veteran from the community, and they're a shipmate, a wingman, a battle buddy, whatever you want to call it, but they walk alongside that person. So as they're moving along, they don't lose hope, right? They don't fall off the way. Or if the path that we've recommended isn't working, we can regroup and come up with a better one. A lot of times what happens is, we ask, hey, did you call the person we recommended you get in contact with about problem X? And the answer is, well, no, I didn't. And we say, well, why not? And they say, well, I was scared. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's totally understandable. Why don't you come in? Come in, we'll make the call together, right? You have to push the buttons. You have to dial the numbers. That's really important. You got to participate in your own recovery. But I'm going to be sitting here right next to you. And if you hear anything you don't want to hear, I'm going to catch you. It's going to be okay. You're not alone. And that's the difference, we think. So we're still building it. It's not 100% fully baked by any stretch of the imagination, but we're thinking, as we bring more veterans into both programs, the two programs kind of support each other. And there's just a nice flow between the two of, as guys getting sober, there's an opportunity for them to give back. As people come in looking for help, there's an opportunity to get them over to the recovery program if that's something they need some help with. And the more we can grow the program, the more specialties we can add, PTSD, marital counseling, all those other things. So, kind of the sky's the limit. We're still, like I said, still in the ground floor, but I'm really excited about where we're going and the opportunity to raise awareness. And right now, I guess I'll finish with this. We're really just trying to get connected with the community at large and to raise awareness that if you are a provider in the community for whatever service, screen for veteran status. Ask, did you ever serve in the military? And if the answer is yes, then try to start vectoring that veteran to veteran programs, the veteran-centric programs, because they'll probably have a better outcome if they're in a program that's, kind of based on veteran needs. And
Right.
that takes them out of the general community. So you don't have to spend the non-veteran resources on them because there's so many veteran resources that are already earmarked out there. So it's a win-win for everybody. So hopefully that message will take.
Yeah, it's almost like you're essentially like between, confidential recovery and, in the VNC, like it's almost like a built-in sponsor of sorts.
Yeah.
Like providing for them. And, it's when it comes to counseling or talking to anybody, having somebody that may have experienced something that you have makes it so much easier to talk to, especially when you're dealing with veterans and matching them up with other veterans that went like,
Right.
hey, I was there. Like I was exactly where you are right now 3 years ago. And there's a light, the station wagon empties. So I think like how you guys did that and combine those is that, wow. Like, I mean, you're touche to you. Like,
So at the VNC, I'm looking here at some of the services that you guys are going to try to implement. So helping veterans get their benefits, employment, work, life skills training, treatment for substance abuse, mental health counseling for depression, anxiety, trauma, PTS, family and marriage counseling, veteran legal services, and housing. So it seems like you're trying to cover a little bit of everything, which is amazing, because a lot of nonprofits only focus on this little section here and not the broader, which is what I like about what you guys are trying to build here with VNC.
And the thing is that as it stands right now, for a lot of those things, we would connect them to somebody else to actually deliver the service. Like right now, we don't do the housing ourselves, but what we would do is connect you with the people that we know who do, and do like the warm handoff. Down the road, actually we have a guy we know who is looking to buy there's a new development here that looks like it has like 12 units in it. And we're talking to him about maybe that becomes a veteran sober living. Don't know yet, but maybe that's where we go 2-3 years down the line, and we have the capability of doing that. The same thing with like the mental health services. We do have 2 marriage and family therapists on our team, so we're able to do a little bit of family therapy right now, but we want to expand that capability. And for the other mental health services, again, we would kind of refer that person to a partner, but we would stay connected with them, and then eventually we want to bring those into our own little nest. So it's right now we're kind of like, I hate to use the phrase a referral service on steroids, but that's kind of what we are. We're connecting veterans with services that already exist. We're not trying to recreate the wheel, but eventually long term, it would be cool to bring a lot of that stuff in-house as well, or to be able to fund it. So like I said, the sky's the limit. We can build a really cool program, but I think the concept is strong. And the thing that makes it, and this is kind of what Candace was talking about, the thing that makes it different is that connection, right? That sponsorship or mentorship, and encouraging the veteran to help themselves as they're going through this process, because that's what we really want. Is we want someone who's going to be, restore their self-confidence and their ability to be self-sufficient. The military does a fantastic job of bringing people into the military, breaking them down to parade rest, and then putting them back together in the military image, right? The warrior ethos, and that. But on the other side, coming out, it's the exact opposite, right? And so many of us become lost souls because we no longer have that team. We don't have our standard operating procedures. We don't have the plan of the day, and you have to figure it out on your own. This is trying to reestablish that team and that sense of mission or sense of purpose, but it's the purpose now is you and your family. But you can still do good things.
Yeah, it's allowing for accountability, I think.
I think so too. Yeah.
But it's the connection there is where you guys are a gateway, because you already have these relationships with the people that's doing the housing. You already have these relationships built where, let's say Joe Blow just gets out of the military and he don't know where to turn, and he finds you guys, and you guys, all right, we need to get you set up for your benefits. This is who you need to reach out to. You get them connected. And we talk about that a lot on Homefront Sitrep, is making those connections and having that Rolodex of people that you can reach out to. Because if I'm running a 501c3 and it's equine therapy, and Candace comes and she goes, oh, well, I'm scared to death of horses, this is not working for me. Me as the chairman, whatever, of the nonprofit needs to go, all right, Candace, what do you like doing? Oh, I like baking cakes. All right, Candace, I got this nonprofit that does baking cakes. Let me get you connected with them. Here, I'll call them right now and get you connected.
Right.
That's what you guys are doing for veterans, because navigating the VA is friggin' terrible.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now. Like, so I've been out since 2004, and I'm just now going through the VA process. I started it at middle of last year, and I just got my second rating for my PTS and my so I got tetanitis right now, and then I just got a rating for my PTS just like a couple days ago, and they denied all my other stuff that I put in there. Like, I haven't seen a doctor for any of it, but they automatically denied it. And I'm like, well, that don't make no sense. So now I have to go in and appeal and be like, well, this is all stuff like my knees, my ankles, my back are all from fast roping out of helicopters. I did that numerous times. And, you know, you're 30, 40 foot above ground sliding down this big ass rope that you can't really hold on that tight, because if you do, it'll burn through the gloves. And then you smack the ground with your pack on your back and your rifle that hits you in your face and stuff. And, you know,
I'm going to guess that you didn't do that just for shits and giggles.
Correct. I did not do that for shits and giggles.
But I did feel like a badass.
Well, but having somebody that you can turn to and say, damn it, this isn't working. This isn't working, and having a sounding board that you can talk through and then go, because the funny thing about the VA is if you've met one VA, you've met one VA. They're all their own little fiefdoms.
Yep.
And there are a whole bunch of little offices full of people that in many cases have never met each other, even though they work in the same building. So the fact that we've been able to get to know people in a lot of different offices and can call them up and say, hey, can I send you a veteran who's got an issue, and they know us and they trust us, and then they say, yeah, that'd be great. That's really helps. And if nothing else, at least the veteran's being heard, because dealing with a huge government bureaucracy is frustrating. It's frustrating as hell. So to be able to say, Jay, man, I'm just having a tough time, and just be able to hear them for a little while and say, okay, let's reattack it on Monday. Let's figure it out again, but we'll do it together.
Beautiful gift. Networking really is. It's a beautiful gift. So we were talking about it before we popped you on. So which one, the Confidential Recovery or the Veterans Navigation Center? Because we were talking about veterans, and so do we do first responders? Is it veteran families? Are we talking Gold Star families?
We would all of the above. So for Confidential Recovery, right now, we're funded. You keep mentioning LLC, which is unfortunately that is a for-profit organization. We're paid through the VA, through private insurance, or through self-pay. We offer deep discounts to people if they're paying out of pocket. What we'd like to do is get donations and funding to VNC so we're able to scholarship people. But through VNC, we're taking first responders, veterans, and their family members. And then, like I said, if they have a substance use disorder and they need something through Confidential Recovery, we'll scholarship that from VNC, paying the way. And and all we're really trying to pay is our rents and our utilities and the salaries of our counselors. We're just trying to cover expenses, and that's it.
Yeah, that was my next question about donations, because I wouldn't be doing my job on Homefront if I didn't ask about it, because Veterans Navigation Center is a nonprofit, and it is being used to do some beautiful things. And so I'm guessing that mainly that is you are looking for monetary donations to cover those things. Are there other things that you need as well? And then, of course, it looks like on the website there's a donate. What I want to know is, what all do you need? Where all can they give it to?
Right. You kind of hit the nail on the head. You go to the website, you can do the donate now thing. Monetary contributions are the main thing we need. Long term, if there's a veteran who's looking to give back, then that may be an opportunity. And this is all local to San Diego for right now. Unfortunately, we have had a number of veterans who have reached out to us from other parts of the country. And what we've done is we've tried to connect them with local resources, but there's only so much we can do. We'd like to export this to other areas of the country, and we'd like to export this model and stand up, in Texas or Maine or Florida, wherever it happens to be. Just not there yet. We would really love for the VA to start funding us and to say, hey, we like what you're doing for veterans. Here's, a stipend so that you can get veterans up and running as peer support specialists, a new career path. So we're working really hard to get government funding because we think that this is, a winning formula. So far, we've only gotten some. We have gotten some grants from the County of San Diego, which is really nice, but we're hopeful to get more. And I'd really like to see the federal side, SAMHSA or VA, actually jump in and say, here's some grants doing this work as well. But right now, it's mainly financial. Long term, if there's veterans who want to give back, then this might be something where we could help connect them with the San Diego Workforce Partnership. They do an excellent 2-week peer support specialist training course, and then once people get trained up, they can come on board as a veteran peer navigator. But I think that's a little down the road.
Sure, but if you have other local like counselors or anything like that would like to give their time,
absolutely
reach out to you guys. Is there?
And the other thing too is if you have a program, if people have veteran programs, we'd like to learn about it. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. We would love to connect with other programs so that we can refer to them. A lot of times in the nonprofit world, there's this sense of competition. We're all going after the funding and whatnot. For us, we would like to be a partner, and I would like to refer veterans to a quality program because I'm probably going to get somebody who says, gee, I need job training. So if you have, Candace's job training program and you offer a great deal for veterans, I'd like to know about it so that I can say, hey, you should talk to Candace about job training because she's got this great program. And so I think that's a big part of it is just getting, like you said, networking, just trying to get connected with what's out there.
So like, I know like KY Valor is a organization here in Kentucky that they go to bases across the country and military members who are transitioning out. They give them incentives to move to Kentucky. They help them with their resume. They help them find job placement. And they even do veterans that have been out for 20 years. If you want to go through KY Valor, there's Mission Wisconsin that does the same thing. In Vets, which is Indiana Vets, they do the same thing. And I'm just thinking, spitballing like, you're talking about like doing VA benefits. Well, there's CMP Garage in Radcliffe, Kentucky, which that's what they do. They help veterans at no cost to the veteran. They help the veterans navigate the VA system, which it's crazy because it's hard to navigate because it's just like, you send, like for me, they got my DD-214. They've had my DD-214. And then when I started my letter of intent, one of the first pieces of paperwork they said is, well, you need to mail us or send us your DD-214. I'm like, you're the VA. Don't you have my DD-214? I mean, you got access to my service record book. I mean, come on now. So I had to upload that. And then, just trying to upload stuff and because I've been doing it mostly online, filing all this and then doing my CMP exams and stuff like that. It's just, it's sometimes it's a headache and knowing the right people and or VSO, knowing the right VSO, veteran service officer that can help you navigate. Because like when I called Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs, which is in Frankfort, they have a VSO that's listed for my county. And when I spoke with the lady on the phone, and I was telling her that I want to file for my disability, my benefits and stuff like that, and she's like, "Well, I can't help you." I'm like, "Isn't that your job as a veteran service officer to help me navigate this?" She goes, "Yeah, but I can't help you because you're not going to get nothing." I'm like, "Lady, you don't even know my story."
Right.
And so I had to find somebody else to help me, navigate it. And, here I am now, 6 months later, and I just now got 40%. And I got to file my appeal and hopefully I can get to that 100%. I believe that with my sleep apnea, my ankles, my knees, my back, and some other medical problems as well, that I could probably get to that 100%. But it's like you said, it's knowing the right person to get you
Right.
there.
Well,
So
and having someone encourage you so you don't give up.
yeah,
Because sometimes I think I don't know that they're necessarily trying to get you to give up, but there are so many vets who do, and they don't get what's owed to them. I work, we set up a table at a dinner for the homeless here in San Diego every Tuesday night. And I've been talking to a veteran who's 89 years old, living in his car. He was an Air Force veteran. He's a cancer survivor because he worked on the ballistic missile defense early warning radar systems and got irradiated back in the 50s and 60s. He survived all that, and he's never gone to the VA to get his benefits. I'm like, we can help you with that. We'll connect you with VFW. They'll fill out the forms for you. Nah, too much trouble. I'm set in my ways now. I'm 89. It's like,
yeah,
but that's because that's the system that we've set up. It's
That
really
man
hard to
should
get people.
never be out there living in his car.
That's right, and that's the thing. But I can't force them to do it. But the programs that you were just talking about, moving to Kentucky or Indiana or Wisconsin because of these Valor programs, that's the kind of thing that I don't know anything about. But if I were to offer that to some of the veterans who are living here in San Diego, one of the most expensive places to live in the country, that might really appeal to some of them. Like, I need a fresh start. I need some place, to get away from the situation I'm in now, and someplace that has a much more reasonable cost of living. That might be something that really appeals.
They help you
knowing about it.
help you get set up. I think that we do have some great contacts we can give him. Even
Great.
Monica Willis.
Yeah, Monica. So Monica Sanford, she runs she's got a podcast called the Monica Sanford Show. She's down in Florida. She's got a doctorate in nursing. She also helps veterans navigate the VA system, like what she helps them to what to write down on their paperwork and stuff like that. She's amazing. She's married to a retired lieutenant colonel, and she was a key wife. She was a key wife in the Marine Corps when the unit goes on deployment, she took care of the spouses and stuff that were back home. So that's what her primary job was when he was in the active duty. So, but she, like I said, that would be another good contact. We've done numerous episodes with different veteran service organizations around the country that we could definitely get you connected with.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll definitely have to get that.
Dr. Teresa Larson. I'm thinking Veteran Hundo Club. Like there's things that great networking with him.
Yeah, Veteran Hundo Club would be a good one. There's so many. We'll have to get connected and
sure.
I think I just have Lauren's email. I don't have yours.
Okay. Well, she sure does. So
yeah, I'll have
to her.
Yeah, and if you want to hang around after when we're doing the outro and stuff like that, we can talk offline too.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been our pleasure to have you on for sure, because I know you got a story that a lot of people probably saw in the news back in the day when all of this went down, and like I said, a lot of the news articles have been embellished. Because I think I seen one that said Navy commander guilty of rape and something else, and I'm like, after speaking with you the first time when we spoke, I'm like, that's not what happened, So I already knew.
And the thing is, the way the UCMJ is written, it is what it is, and I kind of just had to, okay. This is what we're gonna do, and salute smartly, and it was hard, but I didn't want to minimize what happened.
Right.
I didn't want to cause any more pain, and I wanted to start making my amends. And if there's anything the military service taught me, it's you're accountable and you're responsible.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do.
So when all this went down, you already had 20, or you were right at 19 years, and by the time this was said and done, you had 22 years.
Right.
And I'm assuming you got a BCD.
Well, being an officer, it's called a dismissal,
Okay.
which I think is the equivalent of a dishonorable discharge because it's a court martial.
Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming you didn't get to keep your pension and all of that.
No, I didn't get any of my military benefits, but the VA was willing to give me credit for the time of honorable service. So the first 19 years, the VA is considered honorable for VA purposes, and that's
nice.
That's been a godsend. And that's the thing is, the VA is not the military. The military is not the VA, and the purpose of the Uniform Code of Military Justice is good order and discipline. It's to try and prevent bad things from happening in the future. So a lot of times they make an example of individuals to say, don't do this, because we want the service to continue without, having these issues. It's not so much about the rights of the individual or the needs of the individual. It's the good of the service. And I understood that. Yeah. And I was like, I understand. You got to do what you got to do, and I'm just going to move on. And I'm very grateful for the things I have now. The relationship I have with my wife, with my kids. Wouldn't trade it for the world. So, and right now I'm glad to be able to give back. I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't.
Yeah, I feel the same way, because doing this podcast is my form of therapy. It's my continued servant's heart. Like in 2004, I started doing veteran charity work, and I still do some veteran charity work. But the last VSO that I was involved with kind of ended badly for me. I'm not going to go into details, but needless to say that I resigned for personal reasons against the founder, and I went down a rabbit hole. I mean, literally, I went down a rabbit hole and got depressed and stuff. And then I said, all right, let's do a podcast, and we've been doing it. We've been doing it for it'll be 2 years. What, in February, Candace? 2 years in February coming up, and it's been a godsend for me to do this podcast. And just like you're giving back and helping veterans that you've already walked the walk. You've come out on the other side of that walk, and now you're giving back and helping veterans make that walk so they can come out on the other side. That's an honorable thing.
I know that we got to start wrapping up, but I want to finish this off with you, Jay, of thank you for your humbleness, for your vulnerability, and your choice to grow. I appreciate that from, I'm a civilian, but I've been in the VSO world and veteran services for 20 plus years, and what you're doing, like I get goose pimples, and I know that it's a different kind of conversation for you and I, and that's it is, and but I appreciate you. I do.
Thank you.
And thank you for continuing on.
Thank you. Same to you.
Well, thank you. But is there anything else you want to hit before we let you go?
I think we've covered a lot.
I think we have to. Well, if you just hang tight in the background, once we end the show, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more.
Okay.
How cool was that, Miss Candace?
It's cool.
That was pretty cool.
It's humbling, and when I said, like, for sure, there's a lot of vulnerability in there, and it's some of it's hard to talk about, and it's really a different perspective to actually hear somebody on that side. I know not as extreme measures and things like that, but like I said, none of that excuses what happened. But to hear that perspective, the best part about it is seeing the turnaround and the growth that he's made, and the beautiful human that he has turned himself into, and what he's doing for others. So that's.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I mean, to walk that walk and then come out on the other side a better human, that's very honorable. I mean, it really truly is, because he could have did what he did, succumbed to the guilt,
Sure.
and either went back down that rabbit hole, or became a statistic in one of the 22, or do what he's doing now, where he came out of that and now he's giving back to his brothers and sisters and helping them walk that walk.
Well, it's one of the, I haven't done this, but Michael always tells me, he lays his hand out, and he'll tell you, God lays a path out.
Yep.
You have choices.
Yeah. And what you do with those choices is what your path that you take. Yeah. So if you're
like the harder one.
Yeah. If you're a veteran out there and you're in crisis, 988*1. You can text them. You can go online and chat with them online, or you can call 988*1, and they will help you. If you're a family member of a veteran, you can dial 988 as well and talk with them there as well. We're getting ready to play this commercial, and I know I talk about this commercial all the time, because when I found it, I had to pause it and rewind it and watch it again and then pause it. It just
everybody.
I had to keep doing it, because if you read what they write on that board, I think everybody who's going through struggles, going through life, has said what they wrote on this board, probably numerous times. And if you really look at it, the people in the commercial, it's different genders, different race. Just check it out. And when you ask that next hard question, how are you really doing? You have to be ready for that conversation. It could be a 15-minute conversation, could be a 3-hour, could be a 15-hour conversation. You have to be ready for that conversation. You have to be ready. Whew. It gets me every time, because just today somebody asked me how I was doing. I said, I'm hanging in there. Because I know I'm struggling. I struggle every day. It's I wish I could lived a tutti frutti life where I didn't have no struggles.
That would be boring.
I know it would be boring. It would be boring.
And then we wouldn't be able to do what we do now.
True that. Yeah, there wouldn't be no need for veteran podcasters or Veterans Navigation Center. There wouldn't be no need for that.
But you know what? That would be a beautiful world.
It would be a beautiful
not
world.
Reality.
Yeah. And then, Homefront Sitrep, we have a segment. We were just talking about Miss Monica just a few minutes ago. If you have questions about your disability, if you want to start your disability, reach out to Miss Monica Sanford at askmonica0@gmail.com. Let's play that commercial. That's not the right one.
our 998 video.
Mhm.
I love all of our music. Kind of like gets you pumped in one way or another.
It does. It does. Yeah. I like them all. And even like the ones we play on the tip of the spear, the last Wednesday of the month, the music we got on there as well. Because like I can see people in the background and I can watch them as their head
man.
banging. Like Jay was just bobbing his head just now when Monica was playing. I was like, I love it. It's amazing. Just those are me. You know what I'm saying? Those are like music that I like that I could bump to. Depending on what mood I'm in.
I can't wait to call the Crab Trap.
I don't know if he's ever going to do that one.
That's you.
Eventually. He might.
Never published.
So I played Theory's Backpack Raps is when we opened up. I've been trying to go back and forth between Scotty Hastings and Theory there. I need to get Scotty Frazier's one of his songs that he wrote.
Sure.
But no, man, I want to thank all of our, faithful watchers and listeners that, whether you're listening on Reach Across America Radio, which we start October 3rd at 11 p.m. We are super excited to be partners with them. I'm waiting to get the link. So if you buy a wreath to put on a grave site, $5 of that will go to Dogs Helping Heroes. Is going to be our first charity that we're going to support. So $5 each wreath sale will go to Dogs Helping Heroes.
Yeah.
And then, Adam Bird with Heroes Media Group, he's been amazing to Homefront Sitrep. I can't thank him enough. Super cool cat. If you want to get in contact with Heroes Media Group, you can find them on all social media platforms. Make sure you go to I gotta play this. Or Reach Across America Radio.org or reachacrossamerica.org/radio is a listen live link. You can go to Audacity, TuneIn app, or iHeartRadio, and you can listen to, live to Reach Across America. All you got to do is search Wreath, and you can find it there. But Candace, it's that time of night, my friend. Wrap us up.
Thank you guys for watching. But like we always say here on Homefront Sitrep, stay safe out there. We got your six.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find Homefront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay safe out there. I got your six.